Hey guys, there's a show on the History Channel from a minute ago that was pretty lit. It's called Conquer Zimbabwe, and it's about a green man from over there trying to colonize the entire world. It's been a minute since I've gone over something like this, so I thought it was time to go back. I mean, actually I was gonna do this like 2 months ago, but I was running out of time, and I didn't have the motivation to do it as much back then. That being said, this is honestly my favorite show from the History Channel. I mean, aside from Icon, that's just untouchable. But yeah, now we're going to go over a couple episodes from the show. So in the first one, it starts out with some guy checking his off-brand computer or something. Like, I get that this is supposed to be high-tech, but it looks like something from the civil rights era, like Step It Up. Then it gets to some convention where a bunch of green guys have assembled to meet two guys that are tall. It turns out they've all shown up because they believe they're the superior race, and as such, are trying to do everyone else in the universe dirty. So the tall guys have chosen like a couple super OGs to be the niggas they send on missions, and all these guys are dwarves, so the tall guys feel the need to make them feel as inferior as possible. But then one guy starts moaning in the back and trying to enter the stage. Eventually he makes it there, and it turns out his name is Bobway, and the tall guys aren't trying to see him, because last time there was an invasion, he upped to pull on his own niggas and went up his own blog, and as such, was banished for his atrocities. But I guess the emperors don't actually have authority or something, because instead of just murking him, they decide to give him false hope and make up a land for him to wage jihad on. But why? Like, if you guys run the species, why are you even giving this weirdo any attention and not throwing him out in space or something? I mean, this is a young one's program, so I guess they can't be too realistic. Also, it turns out that Samboy was able to hear these plans from galaxies away, even though nobody else has the technology to do so. But when he tries to tell his family, they basically just piss on his face. Back to Conquistacon, the OGs are getting robot slaves. The tall guys put together some trash and call it a day because they can't waste any actually important technology on a lowlife like Bobway. So Bobway and the robot go on their ship on a journey to Earth in order to make things even worse for the planet than they already are now. On the way to Earth, the robot proves himself to be a tryhard that everybody who watches the show seems to have a boner for. But anyway, the aliens arrive on the planet and immediately conduct surveillance to get a sense of the place. After that, Bobway and his robot adopt lame-ass disguises that achieve nothing and do the most in the neighborhood in order to establish a crib there. And despite doing this, nobody seems to get on their ass for it, so I guess it's okay. When he gets inside, he goes down some pipe to an underground lab and starts talking about his racial hatreds. Then the next day he goes to school, where a being from the nether realm introduces Bobway to the class. Despite obviously not being human, only the kid familiar seems to have common sense and tries to point it out, but the brain-dead fetuses aren't going. But then when the hero starts to convince them, Bobway just makes fun of him, which gets all the lanes back on his side, so now the hero has to think of a new strategy. After class, he tells Bobway that he's gonna slap him up and get rid of his disguise so that he can expose him, but knowing the dumbasses he goes to school with, I don't think that will convince them, or even if they would do anything if they found out the truth in the first place. So the hero tailgates Bobway throughout the block, and they both get put on a stretcher by a dog. But when it's the hero's turn, Bobway has his robot bail him out and bring him back to the crib, but the hero follows the chemtrails there and stays posted outside until a gnome foils his plots, so he just pisses off. The episode ends with Bobway contacting the tall guys and confirming he's alive, which makes them both feel some type of way. The next episode we'll be going over is Bobway trying to have a slave. So the episode starts out with Bobway inspecting his food, then getting hoed by some youth. So a girl calls him a weirdo for not having a homie, so he tries to get some, but they're not really people. So he gets a group of fetuses to try out his test designed to murk them, and only one survived, and his name is Sosa, like that one guy from that movie I went over. Hey, like man, what do they have in common? But anyway, he brings them to that one girl that was talking shit earlier, and then they take their L's together. After a day of failure, Bobby's just trying to chill, while Sosa keeps bugging him like a thirsty hoe, so Bobby tries to get him off his ass, but Sosa is acting like he's trying to get piped or something, and tells the robot about his surprise party, which the robot then tells Bobway, because you know he's worthless. Bobway doesn't understand that he and Sosa are in the bottom caste, so he's afraid that the whole plan's gonna be on his crib. So after Sosa tries to get some use for the kickback, Bobway replaces his eyes, which I guess puts him under a genjutsu, and makes him think a squirrel is Bobway instead. So you know, Sosa embarrasses himself with a squirrel for some time, and ends up flying off a roof, where the squirrel fucks him over, and the episode ends. Apparently, he was supposed to just be put on a shirt, but the History Channel wouldn't let the creator go that far. So as you can see, the show goes above and beyond all its competition. This next episode is one of the most memorable, and it's about Bobby trying to give the hero even more of a reason than he already has to jump. So the episode starts out with the hero's father hosting some TV show, because he's like the best scientist on the block. So he shows some use that it's possible to send things back in time to replace other objects, and some guy gets done cuts by a squid or something, which in turn ruins the timeline. So the father warns that time travel is off limits because it's too risky. Then we cut to Bobway's crib, and we see that he has not heeded the scientist's advice and has built a time portal to see when the hero was a fetus, so he can get him out of the picture. He tries sending a large robot through the portal, but it doesn't work out, which puts Bobway in his feelings, and he throws some toy pig in the past, which ends up replacing the fetus hero's bike, which then causes him to buzz his ass on a tree. Back to the present, the hero now looks worse off than he did before, but only he knows that his life is being screwed over. Also, the robot is hurt over this, because he has a thing for toy pigs, I guess, but that doesn't stop Bobway, as he continues to make the hero's life as grimy as possible, like replacing his flying helmet and one of his cameras with a pig, and some more wicked actions, causing him to be permanently disabled. But the hero's onto Bobway's tricks, and pulls up into his crib to talk about it, but then Bobway throws a pig that ends up turning him into a pack. But while Bobway is rolling up his hero blunts in the elevator, there's not his scientist father turn him into an anime robot thing, and he starts wrecking Bobway's crib because he's trying to turn him into a ghost. While the robot slave is pussing out in the background, Bobway is spamming pigs into the past in order to stop the hero from giving him the absolute hands until there's only one pig left, and after he sends it, the hero goes back to being a regular youth, so I guess the day is saved. But now Bobway's out of commission because it turns out the pig he sent in the past had a message that ended up replacing his skull. So as you can see, this show does not shy away from turning its main characters into merch, which automatically puts it above a lot of shows that it was running with. The next episode we'll be going over is also a classic concerning the hero, and maybe the funniest one in the entire show. So it starts out in the school cafeteria, where some guy's getting possessed by his food, but nobody cares, because they're chilling and complacent with their status as subhumans. But then Bobway's trying to eat, but the food causes him to have a seizure, and proclaim himself to be a regular, but only the hero's in his feelings, so his sister gets on his ass for it. Then he throws a muffin at Bobway to prove himself, which then causes Bobway to claim he'll find whoever assaulted him, and then leaves the school, because it's not like there's any authority that's gonna stop him or anything. So that night, the hero is sleeping, when two shoes that claim to be the opposite Bobway's species pull up on him, and tell him that he's the only one worthy of having powers, but they low-key diss him in the process. Then that morning, the hero is feeling himself, and is like powerful or something now, so his family actually respects him. So there's some ugly cutscene, and the hero pulls up on Bobway, and gives him a speech about why he's a lame, which causes Bobway to wave the white flag, and the robot to become a terrorist. Now with Bobway out of the way, the hero spends his time using his powers to prove that all these mythological creatures are real, cause you know he's a weirdo at heart, which also makes the hero the most dick-ridden person on the planet. Then the hero goes to visit Bobway in some lab, where he tells him that his alien set is pulling up to wet up the block, so the hero makes a school to prepare the world for the invasion. Eventually the aliens roll up on the Earth niggas, and they catch a fade, but since the exalted hero's on Earth's side, they end up bitching the aliens out, so now the hero is the stuff of legend. So in the end, the hero is an old man, telling the story of his accomplished life, when the host asks him if he's responsible for holding Bobway back all those years, and then it turns out it was all simulation, because Bobway is so sick in the head that he was willing to fabricate the hero's entire life because he was disrespected by him, and this is honestly like one of the most messed up things in the entire show, like it's a classic among classics. And the last episode of season 1, it was like a beautiful day outside, but the occult teacher is in her feelings because Valentine's Day is not being celebrated, so people are exchanging meat, because that's how it works there I guess. And I'm not talking about the Y chromosome meat either. Also there's a new girl in class who comes out of a spaceship and gives meat to everyone except for Bobway, who she then injures with meat separately. To make room for the new girl, the teacher sends 2 students to the Shadow Realm, and then Bobway tells the tall guys about his findings, but they couldn't be bothered to sit in front of a camera, so they use their puppets instead. I guess the hero has a hard-on for her or something, but he gets taken out of the way by Bobway, who then gets close to the new girl, who hosts him yet again. So the girl spends the whole day doing Bobway cuts until he decides enough is enough and that somehow his just aren't worth chasing. But then the girl shows up at his crib and starts laughing like a psycho, because it turns out she's not really a human, she's a member of Bobway's ethnic group, and she has beef with Bobway because his nonsense got her stuck in some room where she missed her job interview and got sentenced to slavery. So now she's come to take his status as a colonizer instead. And then the girl ruins Bobway's base, which causes him to tweak again when she's trying to tell him the plan, so she just pisses off. Then Bobway pulls up on the hero to tell him that the girl's an alien, but the hero's been trying to hear all that, so they start arguing until the hero's sister pulls up and holds both of them. Then the sister goes to some stand and ends up in the base with the hero, and they meet up with the alien female, and she tells them her plan, but then Bobway pulls up because he's been stalking the hero there. So Bobway, the hero, and the sister get kicked out of the base, but the sister recovered the flash drive, so they all team up and go to Bobway's crib to decode the files and find out her plan. So back in the city, the alien base initiates the next phase of the plan. So the sister has Bobway's robots sabotage the other robots, while Bobway chases after the alien. He ends up getting her out of the way, and the hero shuts off the machine, so Earth is still a thing. Then the alien comes back to diss Bobway some more, so Bobway gets rid of her. Then he tells the tall guys about what happened, but they still aren't feeling him, so that's an L. The episode ends with the alien ship crashing near the hero, so I guess he's gonna do something with it later on. And some episode in the next season, the hero's expecting a graveyard, and someone's a bum from the ghost zone in order to put Bobway in a shirt, but instead of just doing as he's told, he tries to hit the road, so the hero is forced to hit him with a social contract, which then puts him in his feelings. The bum says he'll help the hero on his mission, but that he'll need time to recharge because he was stuck in the nether realm for 1,000 years. So the two of them go to some fast food place, where the bum stuffs himself like the fat lame he is. Then he makes the hero pay for it, because he's a broke boy. When the hero sees Bobway, he's trying to start something, but the bum is shopping at Forever 21, so the hero has to get him back, and then waste his own funds when the bum does the dash again. While the hero is looking for the bum, he comes across Bobway, and they yell at each other across the street for some time. Then the hero finds the bum at some amusement park, and goes on his ass, and tries him, so the bum uses his power for once and wrecks everything in sight. But it turns out that was a lot for him, and he has to recharge yet again. Eventually the hero pulls up on Bobway yet again, and throws hands while the bum does nothing. When the bum finally gets his powers back, and it's time to actually do something, he goes a random wish for ice cream, and does that, instead of just looking for the guy who's running behind this whole time. And even that wasn't worth it, because the guy just threw away the ice cream. With his non-work done, the bum pisses off, and leaves the hero to wallow in his failure and get arrested. In the last episode we'll be going over, part of Bobway's past is revealed. So the episode starts out with the hero trying to convince his classmates yet again that Bobway's from another star system, but they're all brain dead, so they find every excuse in the book not to believe him. But then some giant alien pulls up and swoops Bobway in front of everyone, yet they still still don't care, and proceeds to mock the hero for having a bird shit on him. It turns out that the alien that abducted Bobway is the manager of a planet that he was shipped to after he friendly fired his own niggas in the last invasion. Somehow Bobway managed to escape from slavery, which left the manager to deal with useless customers for a minute. So now he's trying to enslave Bobway again and keep him trapped. Bobway tries to send a message to his robots, but then he proceeds to do nothing of worth. So Bobway is stuck doing minimum wage nonsense and almost starts catching bodies because of the way he's being treated. Back on Earth, the hero comes to Bobway's crib because he's been MIA for a minute, and then the robot decides to actually do what he's supposed to and call the tall guys, while the hero starts asking them questions that he should know have confidential answers. Eventually, Bobway talks with some fat guy who gives him the idea to disguise himself as food so that he can escape from the fat guy's stomach, which he does. So the manager tailgates him throughout the streets in order to get him back before the planet closes for another minute, and Bobway manages to piss off. When he gets back to the crib, he sees the hero there and starts slapping him up. As you could tell, the show is borderline perfect, but then they disrespectfully cancelled it and aired like half the second season 4 years later on the backup channel, which is when I really started watching it. For years the viewers have been on their knees for some new episodes, but the creator has moved on in life, so this chapter is closed. Or so we thought. A couple of years ago, it was revealed that the show was getting a new movie on Hulu with the creator's direct involvement. It came out last year and was absolute heat, so now it's time to go over it. So it starts out with the hero telling us how Bobway hasn't been seen for a minute, but there is still the threat of his return. But it turns out in all this time waiting, the hero hasn't left his room, so a scientist's father sends his sister to take him downstairs. But he's become a fat will of a man, kinda like that bum from earlier, and he's surgically attached to the seat now. So the sister tries to get the hero to give up his obsession and do something productive with his life, but right then, Bobway and the robots are on their front lawn, so the hero pulls up on them to see what's what, and it turns out that Bobway was just hiding out in his toilet for some reason. But now that the hero is obsolete, Bobway can go on to plan the rest of his genocide. So he gets the tall guys on Skype, but it turns out he forgot his plan, so he starts tweaking and tells the robots to go through everything so they can find something of use. Meanwhile, the hero is exercising again to regain his peak form. Eventually, Bobway decides to find out when the tall guys are coming to Earth, but it looks like that's gonna take some time, so Bobway is feeling some type of way. Now that the hero is back in shape, he's on his way to pull up to Bobway, but first he has to deal with the fact that his father is making energy friendship bracelets and doesn't believe in his own son despite all the proof, so that's lame. When the hero gets to the base, he finds that Bobway wants to jump because the tall guys aren't coming to chill with him, so he just agrees to be the hero's bitch. He decides to show Bobway to the world during his scientist's father's speech, and his sister tells him not to tweak, but the hero doesn't care about what the irrelevants have to say, so he has Bobway upgrade one of the scientist's friendship bracelets so that he can expose himself. But when it's time to do something, it turns out Bobway abducted the scientist and took over the event and tells all the kids to hold hands. The hero and the sister wake up to some fake ass clone replacing their father because he's stuck on some other planet, so you have to escape and confirm Bobway about his plan. So it turns out there's some convoluted stuff that involves some moves that first appear in the Christmas episode and the friendship bracelet energy, but whatever. Now the other is somewhere in the tall guy's path, so they have to come across Bobway. But a side effect of the teleportation is a black hole that's gonna put everyone on a shirt, but Bobway doesn't care because his IQ is deficient, so the hero and the sister get the clone father to let them use the female alien ship to rescue their real father. When they get there, they get captured, but then they break out, so I guess it worked out. When they get back to Earth, they pull up on Bobway and catch a fate with him throughout the block, and the scientist ends up getting the moose, reversing everything, right before the tall guys can put the world on the news. But then they themselves get sucked in the black hole. Now that everything's back to normal, the hero and his family are chilling, and I guess the clone's just part of the family now. I mean, the real father doesn't even care, because he thinks he's been off one the whole time. Then Bobway comes in to finesse something, and tries to save face by claiming that's what it's been about the whole time. The movie ends with Bobway trying to contact the tall guys, but they're busy going through it, while Bobway takes an L from a dog. Aside from some art changes, the movie was pretty close to the actual show, and was about as lit as it too. I really recommend this show to anyone who hasn't seen it, because it's actually funny, and the moral of the story is that sometimes a bullied kid in the corner wearing black isn't a flight risk, but is only treated as such by all past classmates.
Okay guys, make sure that when you subscribe you hit the notification button, because that lets you know whenever I make a new video, and as always, thanks for watching.